Well, hello, BookTube. It has been a while. I got one of those YouTube studio emails saying, here's your year in review. You've done 17 videos this year. And I was like, that's it? Wow. Time flies, but not having fun. As I mentioned in my previous videos, my mom had to move into assisted living. That's been a big challenge for both of us. She even recently had a fall. Thank God didn't break anything, but I had to go to the hospital, get x-rays and everything, and sprained her ankle, but she's bounced back now. Wish she would have bounced in the first place. We wouldn't have had all this, but she's been through therapy and everything, and she's back to the way she was, so she's up and mobile, and so that's really good. And then I had this little beauty here I want to show. This is my new refrigerator. Had to wait a month for this to come in, so for a whole month, just before Thanksgiving, mine broke down. It was getting kind of old, not worth repairing at that point. So happy to finally have a fridge. I know, first world problems, but oh my gosh, really complicates things even more. But all these things just piled up on top of one thing after another. I wasn't reading much. I spent most of my time going back and forth visiting my mom, so wasn't really motivated to do a whole lot of reading, hence no videos. I did manage to get a little bit back into art like I showed in my other video. I would like to have this room here, which you're about to see, set up a little better as a studio, but this is the best I could kind of manage. So this is it. I did get an easel finally, which I had to put together, and unfortunately no table, so I have these like fold-out tables to kind of use to prop up some of my stuff. Some things I did recently, these are charcoal drawings. I love the kind of foggy view with the forest. This was my favorite. I love this castle. These are from Pinterest references. And there's another kind of pathway in the forest, like the fog in the background. I just love that. Really, like in the black and white kind of artwork. I recently got commissioned to do a couple pieces on this little fellow. This is Sean. He passed away this year. Really cute little Bichon. I got to meet at least one time in my life. Really sweet fellow. And they wanted me to do some artwork for him. This is my favorite. This is a little smaller than the actual size, because this is printed from a photo, but it was like a little Halloween kind of theme scene. And then I did this one as well. This is actually a duplicate. I had to redo it because the tape, when I peeled off, kind of ripped the paper, and I wasn't happy, and I didn't want to give that to them like that. So this is actually the original one, and then the second one I kind of made a little better, and then did a little bit more, another one of those white pastels. This is just from a Pinterest reference, a little schnauzer. I just loved all the detail in the photo, and wanted to try my hand at it. And then this is a graphite drawing. This is another Pinterest reference. I started out just kind of curious to see what it would come out like, and it just sat there for like a month or more. And then while visiting my mom, it was just kind of like passing some time, and I just started drawing, and before I knew it, I ended up with this whole thing, and really pleased with the way it came out. And then now I'm trying some new things. I'm getting, not so much new, kind of revisiting something I used to do, which was pastel chalk. So this is a little forest scene from a photo I took on a hike through the woods. Really like the way that came out. And then I really, after doing Sean over there, the little dog, I wanted to do one of Skippy. So this one I just recently finished. And I really like the way it came out. I had tweaked it in an app, a photo app, where you can like make it look like a watercolor thing. And so it added all these colors, and I wanted to try and bring that to the pastel work here. So really pleased with the way these came out. Anyway, back in more familiar settings. So let's talk books. I have a Goodreads goal of 50. I am not gonna make that this year. Currently I'm at 45. I may tweak out one more book. I don't know if it's gonna make it in time. But again, I just got so busy doing other things, then slightly unmotivated because I just wasn't reading, and then no energy to read, no energy to do anything, and hence not gonna make the goal. But let's talk about what I did read. And I'm hoping this video won't jump audio like the other one did halfway through. Don't know what happened. But anyway, first off is The Madness by Dawn Kurtagich. This is her first foray into adult horror. I've loved all of her books. This one I went in not knowing a whole lot about. We feature our main character, Mina Murray. She's a psychiatrist who has her own issues, PTSD, OCD, that she uses to kind of control, give her a sense of control. Whatever happened in her past, as the book opens, you don't know, but it drove her away from her home in Wales, and she didn't tell anybody what had happened, didn't say anything to her family, just up and left, and kind of left some hard feelings between her mom and her boyfriend and her best friend Lucy. And now she's heard from her friend Lucy through an email asking for her help. And when she returns back to Wales, she finds that her friend is suffering from very similar symptoms of an amnesiac patient that she has back at work. And these symptoms start to turn up in various other women that have gone missing, and she starts to go on this investigation. As I went into this, like I said, I didn't know anything really going into it about the plot line until I started recognizing some very familiar names like Mina and Lucy, and realizing this is a retelling of a classic horror novel, but on a feminist twist to it. And I absolutely loved it. Once again, she has these various other things within the book, like text messages and things that she throws in to just kind of give a visual appeal to the book as well, which it is absolutely beautiful. And I love the story. Absolutely loved it. I'm not going to go into heavy detail with these books because a lot of these I read quite some time ago, and it's you know, kind of hard to go into a lot of detail at this point, and I got a lot of books to go over. I don't want this video being as long as the last one was. Next up was Hidden Pictures by Jason Rekulak. This is the one about a recovering alcoholic who goes to become a nanny of this, I forget how old he is. Oh, 5-year-old boy named Teddy. And Teddy has some interesting issues. He likes to draw pictures of his imaginary friend. There's this woman, and it starts to become rather obvious that his imaginary friend is dead. And then the pictures start getting much more twisted, where there's images of what appears to be a woman being killed in the forest and dragged off and buried in a well or something like that. Where would Teddy come up with these? Are these his drawings? They start to get rather detailed to the point where, you know, it can't possibly be him. And it starts to take a quite dark turn. The ultimate revelation that comes up at the end of the book, I wasn't super thrilled with. Yeah, I don't know. It was just hit or miss. I didn't like it as much as I had hoped I would. Next up was a thoroughly enjoyable book I got through our clearance department. It's just a graphic novel of a cartoon series called Living with Mochi by Gemma Jean. Cute little pug. I love the illustrations of this dog, and there's so many things that I could look at and just say, yep, that Skippy did that. Yep, did that. The chapter breaks are pretty funny. They're quite huge. But yeah, just the sweetest stories with this little dog. And I absolutely love it. It never laughs so much. He has to squeeze in between people, you know. That's my spot. Loved it. Next up, I just have digital images of these because I don't have physical copies of them. But I read a couple of T.J. Klune books. First up was The Lightningstruck Heart. This is book 1 in the Tales of Verania series. Kind of a fantasy series for him. Our main character, Sam, becomes known as Sam of Wilds. Turns out he has some sort of wizardry, kind of magical powers. He discovers this first time when he's being chased down an alley by some boys, and he somehow manages to turn them temporarily into stone. He's discovered by the King's Wizard, Morgan of Shadows, and brought to him and his family, basically brought to the court, and he's going to be apprenticing as the next wizard to the future king, who's the prince right now, Prince Justin. There is also like the King of the Guards named Ryan, who Sam has an extreme crush on, and but he is promised to the prince, which makes things much complicated. There's also Sam's friends. One is Gary, the hornless gay unicorn, and then there's Tiggy. He's like a half-giant kind of simpleton. And this is one of those books I listened to an audio. It's definitely NSFW, not suitable for work because of the enormous amount of sexual references and innuendos. And but it's another T.J. Klune book that is extremely laugh out loud, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. And I can't wait to kind of visit the other 3 books in the series. I also followed up the House by the Cerulean Sea by him with the most recent release called Somewhere Beyond the Sea. Really enjoy this one. This is about a island of kind of, how do you call it, magical, it's an island where there's magical youth that are a bit more troublesome or dangerous. And our main character is Arthur Parnassus. He's sort of like in charge of the orphanage. He was there at one point on the island and didn't have a really great youth growing up, and he wants to change that around, change things around for these children. He almost becomes like a father figure for them. Then we have Linus Baker. He formerly worked for the like a Department of Magical Youth, and when he visited there, became very attached to the children and to Arthur himself. And this is where this book continues events that took place in that first story. So I don't want to go into more detail, but absolutely loved it. Love that whole series. Love all the characters. They are so unique. Even the one child named Linus. Was it Linus? No, Lucy. Sorry, Lucy, short for Lucifer. He's apparently the Antichrist. So people are very terrified of what kind of powers he may have. But love the series. Then I also encountered a couple of Junji Ito books. So the first one was Mimi's Tales of Terror. Okay, and this is apparently based on some true horror stories from urban legends, and it follows this one main character and some various things that she's encountered. I'm just going to kind of read some of them. There's an enigmatic neighbored woman dressed in black from head to toe, but if she's so odd, why does it seem like there are so many others like her? Then whose eyes track Mimi's movements from the cemetery next door. And why does a bizarre red circle drawn on a basement wall change with each passing day? 9 scary stories that really happened, drawn from the famed collection of urban legends Shin Mimibukuro. I can't read that. And adapted into manga by Junji Ito. So the collection of these stories, it's just really, really great. Then there was also Venus in the Blind Spot. Okay, and this one's also a collection of short works. It's featuring an adaptation of a classic horror story referred to as The Human Chair. That was absolutely creepy, about whether there was a legend about someone who lived inside the chair. And then there's a repeat of a short story I encountered in another one of his books. It's called The Enigma of Amagara Fault. It's just this fault line through the mountains that everyone's like drawn to. And the reason is there's all these tunnels throughout the walls of the fault line that are human shaped, and people are drawn to their human shape. It's like, that's my shape. That's me there. And all of a sudden they can't help it. They have to walk through, and it's just super creepy. And there's some color pages in there and stuff. I wish I would have filmed some of that so you could get a visual look of it before I returned it to work, but I don't have it. And then the last one of Junji Ito's was Black Paradox. This one has some trigger warnings for the topic of suicide. Our 4 main characters, which you see here, have all met on some kind of website or something like that. They're intent on killing themselves, and they meet on this suicide website called Black Paradox. We have Maruso, a nurse who despairs about the future, Taburo, a man who is tortured by his doppelganger, I'm sure if I'm pronouncing the names right, Paitan, an engineer with his own robot clone, and Barachi, a girl who agonizes about a birthmark on her face. And they wander together in search of a perfect death, faithfully opening a door that leads them to a really bizarre destiny. And how do you describe a Junji Ito book? The weirdest things you can imagine is basically it. It's the creepiest, weirdest things you can imagine. The artwork is fantastic. The storylines are like, well, this is getting really bizarre, and just makes me want to pick up another one. Every time I see one, and we've gotten a lot of collections of short stories and things recently. This one is more focused on the one topic of these 4 main characters. But every time I see one come in, I'm like, I gotta grab that one and read it. Oh, I forgot to save it for my coworker. Shoot. Oh well. But yeah, I highly recommend them if you're into manga and you're looking for something with a horror twist. Then I listened to this collection of short stories by Andy Weir. This is The Egg and Other Stories. It's an audio exclusive, and lots of bizarre stories. I I'm not always into short stories, other than maybe manga, but yeah, I thought some of them were okay, some of them were interesting twists, but yeah, it was just so-so. Not as good as say Project Mary or The Martian, which I absolutely loved. Then a bit of a disappointment was Matt Haig's The Life Impossible. Well, there we go. I really love The Midnight Library. I was hoping for more out of this one. I'm going to just read a little bit of the description of it. This features a retired math teacher named Grace Winters. She's left a rundown house on the Mediterranean island by a long-lost friend. She's left a rundown house. She ends up moving to this house in Ibiza with a one-way ticket, no guidebook, and no plan. The way the story begins, though, is from a former student writing her an email, explaining, thank you for, your teaching and all this stuff, and where he's at right now with his life, and how it's not going super great. But then she writes back to him, telling about her life after she lost her husband, and what she ends up doing. And it's basically the entire book is this email. Like, how much are you telling this former student of your entire life? Well, it's a lot of magical realism, weird things happening on this island. She kind of goes there in search of a new life, but also in search of what happened to her friend. I think she disappeared or died. They don't really know. It's all kind of ambiguous to her, and she's like in search of what happened. So it says, among the rugged hills and golden beaches of the island, Grace searches for answers about her friend's life and how it ended. What she uncovers is stranger than she could have dreamed. But to dive into this impossible truth, Grace must first come to terms with her past. Yeah, it was okay, but the premise with the student, I think, didn't need to take place. It could have been her just telling us the story rather than her telling a student in like this long-winded letter type format. I don't know. It didn't work for me. Another letdown was the Haunting at Sebring Hotel. Do I have the author's name? I do not. Oh, I apologize. If I can find the name, I will put it down below, but I don't have the author's name on this cover. But this features Anna Hall. She is recently widowed. She has 2 teenage boys. She takes her husband's life insurance policy and uses it to buy Club Blue, which is sort of a forgotten motel. It's had some damage to it. The 4th floor is apparently fire damaged and unusable. But when she ends up buying it and moving in, all the staff quits instantly. And it's like, so suddenly it's just her and her 2 teenage boys running a motel. So no cleaning staff, no, maintenance person. They're taking on these roles. Oh, suddenly they have all these skills. They're 2 teenage boys. Plus they're still going to school. And, yeah, during like overlooking the hotel and all this stuff, they find some weird things going on. She discovers someone had been living in the secret passages. Yeah, secret passages within the hotel. There are peepholes hidden in there. Then she comes across a skeleton, and it's been there for quite a bit. And you continue to live there with your teenage boys. There was another revelation that comes up about a character, and I kind of saw it coming a mile away. But yeah, a total letdown, because it was just so, I don't know, unbelievable that this mom would stay there and endanger her kids in these situations with weird stuff that was going on in this hotel. Should have just packed up and left, sold the place, and said goodbye. Or the fact that these kids are doing all the things that they're doing in the hotel. Yeah, not good. Then I followed that up with another book I had gotten. I think it was one of those free Kindle ones. This is Homicide on All Hallows Eve by Imogen Plimp. Love the cover. There's a little basset hound named Rupert, I believe. This is the first in the Claire Anderson... Oh, no, this is the 4th book in the Claire Anderson Murder for All Seasons. Murder for All Seasons. Okay, so the 4th book in the series, but it didn't matter. It's a, the author did a good job of filling you in on the character, and it's standalone. Anyway, it says, Halloween's a real treat until you find a skeleton in your closet. After a whirlwind summer, B&B proprietress, skilled cuisiner Claire Anderson is looking forward to a little R&R in her cozy, renovated Victorian for the autumn, and doing a bit of seasonal leaf peeping the Appalachian region is known for. She's barely even had time to fit in a first official date with her longtime crush, dreamy handyman Ray Hamilton. But she hardly makes it to Halloween when the heartless and rather Cruella-ish Helena Delacroix invites her to host this year's All Hallows Eve haunted hootenanny. At the 11th hour, thank you very much. Sensing the last-minute invitation is a cruel trap, Claire tenuously accepts, but no sooner have her costume revelers partaken in some wholesome bobbing for apples than a skeleton winds up planted in her cupboard, the real-life, fleshless kind. What at first seems a vile practical joke turns criminal when Claire discovers the remains are staged in close proximity to the Black Hand, in capital letters, a decades-old murderous signature commonly left behind by anti-union henchmen in Appalachian mine crime scenes. A skeleton in my closet thinks our heroine? You've got to be kidding me. But that's not all. The ghastly episode is soon compounded by several about-town sightings of, in capital letters, the Pink Lady, a ghost known to roam the hallways of the old Galway Inn, among other locales. Are the incidents related? Could this be a case of an embittered hotelier, a woman scorned systematically terrorizing the patrons of her competitors? This vampire bat, this inhuman beast, or is it really possibly the local inn are being haunted by an angry phantom with unfinished business? If the broom fits, well, worse yet is the town of Galway, the latest victim of a still active chapter of an historic West Virginia-based mob. After her last mafia run-in, which I guess that was in a previous book, Claire isn't exactly eager to battle a cohort of ruthless gangsters, but mob connection or not, she feels compelled to roll up her sleeves, grab a shovel, perhaps even cast a spell, and solve the mystery with a little help from her friends, not to mention her faithful bloodhound, Rupert. I really enjoyed that one. It was a really cozy, comfortable, cute storyline, and I love the fact that it was centered around Halloween. Wish I would have read it around Halloween. So anyway, that brings me to my current reads. I am reading I'm currently reading a physical copy, actually an ebook copy of Welcome Home to Murder by Sidney Klein. This is book one in the Molly Maguire Cozy Mystery series. And this features a widow named Molly Maguire who is returning home to Ireland after being living in the United States for quite some time. It says she isn't overjoyed when her childhood nemesis Marjorie Denton shows up at her welcome home party, and even less thrilled when she finds out her brother Dylan is dating her. When Molly, known globally as a klutz, stumbles across Marjorie's body, both she and her brother are suspects, and she decides to channel her inner Miss Marple and find the real killer, even though sexy guarded detective Liam Fitzgerald wants her to stay out of it. Can Molly fumble through the clues and figure out who the killer is before the wrong person is arrested for murder? The story begins with her on a plane flying home to Ireland, sitting next to a rather handsome fellow flyer, and she's absolutely terrified of flying. And they get into conversation, and she seems almost a little attracted to him a little attracted to her. Who knows if he'll turn up again in the storyline, or if it was just an intro to the story. I don't know. I'm curious. But I like the story so far. I'm still kind of new into it, so I don't believe I will be finishing this before the end of the year. And then the audiobook I am currently diving into is my only classic of this year, which is Crime and Punishment by Fyodor Dostoevsky. I am probably a little further than this now. I didn't update it, but like about page 423. This is the one I might finish on audio. We'll see. I generally listen to it when I'm driving back and forth to work, but I am off until just after Christmas. So not many days after that left to kind of catch up. Unless I listen to it while I'm doing some artwork, which is my plan after this video. Some coworkers had recently read this, so every time I'm finishing, they're like, "Where are you now? Where are you at?" What is? Not loving it. It's interesting. It's only like my second Russian classic, but this one's translated by Richard Pevier. I don't believe the one I'm listening to though is. But yeah, it's okay. We'll see. I'll talk maybe more about it in another video. But anyway, I hope you guys had a good year, better year than me reading wise. I think this channel going forward will probably be a mix of art and books. So I hope that's okay. I really appreciate all the comments on my last video about my artwork. Nice to know. But anyway, let me know what you guys have been reading, what your plans are for the coming year. I think I'm coming up on another anniversary in January. I'll have to look at what that date was. And hopefully I'll be you'll see more of me the coming year. Take care and Happy New Year, Happy Holidays. Bye-bye.